Welcome to FafNir Guide. Today's guide is about understanding the effects and use of Ishizu Package, because some people thought that by adding Ishizu Package to their deck they can just mill their deck without knowing what's the use of it, and also how to tackle them, in case your opponents use it against you in the duel. First thing first, let me explain why it's called Ishizu Package or Ishizu Engine. These new cards are the retrain cards. What is retrain cards? It's some kind of renewing an old cards, with new effects that surely can be playable in this modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Same like Kiryu Shin and other water retrain cards. These Ishizu Package were all old cards used by Ishizu Ishtar in the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. These package actually have their own archetype, which is a Gravekeeper's, but not directly part of Gravekeeper's archetype. It actually the support card for this new continuous trap card, Gravekeeper's Trap, that actually floodgating your opponent's graveyard. But because these four monster cards have no restriction, and have a really good mill power, these cards becomes an engine in any deck that use graveyard as their resources. If you don't know what mill is, it's basically sending cards randomly from the top of the deck to graveyard, allowing you to use your graveyard as the extension of your hand. Here are the list of the deck and archetype that can get benefit from this engine: Dry Tron, Thunder Dragons, Virtual Worlds, Shadow, Zombies, Eldritch, Skull Servants, Adamancipators, Madalche, Lightsworn, Infernoid, Ogdudic, Lunalite, Punk, Therions, Fluffle, Dragonlink, and the upcoming Tier 0 deck, Tearlament. For your information, Kelbek, Keldo, and Agido are semi-limited to 2, in Master Duel, so it kinda hit the ratio a bit, for the sake of balancing in case it got abused like in TCG and OCG, so I gotta say that's a bold and clever move by Konami. Let's talk about these engine and some hidden interaction with it. These four monsters are the main engine. They are all level 4 Earth Fairy monsters. These four have a way to special summon themselves to the field. The different is, these two special summon is a triggering effect, while the other two is an ignition effect. We gonna talk about it later. These two monsters, Kelbek and Agido, are the only one who can mill your deck. So basically you can only bring 4 mill engine to your deck because of the ban list. If these two monsters were sent to graveyard from hand or deck, it will activate its milling effect, but not from the field. The milling effects can only be activated if both player have at least 5 cards in their deck. If either of the player have less than 5 cards from their deck, the mill effect won't activate, even though it's stated, or their entire deck, if less than 5. That condition only happens on resolution, in case these effects have been chained by other effects, that actually reducing the total number of the deck, like drawing or adding cards from deck. Same like Runick banishing effects. If on resolution the total number of cards in the deck is reduced below the requirement, it will mill the rest of it until it's empty, but the effects is unable to activate if in the first place either one of the deck is already under the required amount of cards to be milled. Agido milling effect can be enhanced if you have the trap card, Exchange of the Spirit in your graveyard. You will be able to mill 5 more cards, while Kelbek will let you set 1 trap card from your graveyard. But most people are ignoring this, because milling 5 cards is already enough for them. Kelbek and Agido special summon effect can be activated from hand, and they both are triggered if any cards are sent to opponent's graveyard from hand or deck. Kelbek can return a monster from opponent's field to hand and special summon itself to field, while Agido can special summon itself and special summon another Earth Fairy from graveyard, which is another Ishizu monster. Since all of them are level 4, means it's a free exceeds summon rank 4. Next we gonna talk about the other two monsters. I remind you that Kelbek and Agido it's not only milling your deck but also your opponent's deck. It can give them a benefit if they are also playing a graveyard resources deck. This is why we bring Mudora and Keldo as well. These monsters are not for milling. Instead it's used to reshuffle the cards from graveyard back to deck. The cool things is, it's a quick effect, and it can target cards from both graveyard, so these two monsters is the counter to graveyard resources deck. Funny, isn't it? While on the field or in graveyard, quick effect, you can banish this card, and target up to 3 cards in either graveyard and shuffle them back to deck. If Exchange of the Spirit is in the graveyard, you target up to 5 cards instead. Their special summon effect is an ignition effect, where you must activate them in your main phase. Keldo can discard another Earth Fairy monster and special summon itself and then add 1 Exchange of the Spirit from deck, or any cards that mention it. Since other Ishizu monster mention it, you can search either Kelbek or Agido with it and discard them with another effect to mill 5. While Mudora can only set Gravekeeper's Trap from deck, sometime people don't want to add that, but with these ban list, adding Gravekeeper's Trap can let you search an Ishizu monster from deck, by discarding 1 card. It hurt your card advantage a bit, but you could mill more often. All of this effect are hard once per turn. So from now on, if you are about to interact with cards from graveyard, you need to regularly check your opponent's graveyard, if there's any Mudora or Keldo there, because if they chain their effect to reshuffle all the cards that you interact with, you could mess up your play. Let's talk about all the stuff that you can do to mill your deck using Ishizu engine. The very easiest way is to summon Diviner. It has an effect to send a fairy monster from deck or extra deck. With this we can easily mill 5 from decks, just by sending either Agido or Kelbek from deck using Diviner effect. There's also Gigantic Sprite way. Since Diviner is level 2 monster, Gigantic can special summon her from deck, and activate her effect as well. And another way is milled by the Ishizu engine itself. Let's say you mill 5 cards using Kelbek, so just pray that Kelbek mill Agido in the process, and so Agido will mill another 5 cards from deck. You can also bring Herald Handtrap Negate like orange, green and purple. Their negate is required to discard a fairy monster from hand, which will trigger Kelbek or Agido mill effects. I believe there are still more way to abuse their milling effect, but so far this is the easiest way that I can get for this engine. Another cool things that you can do with Mudora and Keldo, is to avoid your hand trap getting negated by Called Grave. Just return your hand trap to the deck, and it will avoid Called Grave negate. So to conclude this, Kelbek and Agido are the cards that mill the deck if it's send from hand or deck, while Keldo and Mudora are the ones that reshuffle them back to deck. Both of them are quick effect, so you need to be careful when you interact with cards in your graveyard. With the release of Ishizu cards in Master Duel, you must get used to regularly checking both graveyards, whether you using it, or duel against it. That's all that I can explain about this engine. If you want to check how it perform in a gameplay, you can check my Ishizu Runick videos, link at the top right corner in description. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you a lot. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. See you next time.